All right. Welcome back to the True Crime Cafe, everybody. It is I, Dago, again with you. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on this Sunday night. It's a late one. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion, guys, for those of you that would like to partake. Of course, things seen and heard then and now. Lots of different things we've seen and heard through this case. Old interviews, new interviews, statements made, all of that. I want to talk about it, break it down, and see what we come up with. It's just a good conversation piece, I should say. I'm sorry. So, you know the drill. You've been here more than once. Let's do this. Here we go. Here we go. Well, hello, and welcome back to the cafe, everybody. Great to see you guys again tonight. I know we're doing a late one tonight. I've had a busy family day today. So here's when I can do this. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Great to be back with you all. And I hope you all have had an amazing day today and an amazing weekend, to say the least. Tomorrow's Monday. We're back to the grind. But hey, why not have a discussion before we close out the weekend? I don't see why not. I've had many requests for it and many emails asking, are you going live tonight? Are we going to talk tonight? Here we are. Here we are to answer all of your emails. Thank you. Thank you for those, by the way. I do appreciate it. Here, come on in and grab a seat, coffee, tea, whatever it may be. Please come in here, sit down, and have a conversation with me. It's wonderful to be here with you guys. All of you guys, 56 peeps in the house, 31 likes. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you all so very much. Share this out if you will. Excuse me. Share this out if you will, and make sure to hit that like button as you come through that door. Thank you all so very much. And while we're waiting for people to jump in, please make sure to click that link right there. Jump on over to our brother Mikey's channel, The Last 24. I promise y'all, you'll be grateful you did. Plenty of great stuff going on over there, as always. Plenty of awesome things to read about, listen to, and check out, and to hit the like button for as well. If you have not subscribed, and hit the notification bell for The Last 24. What are you waiting on? Let's get it done, y'all, please. And thank you, Cassie, for that. And also, the lovely Miss Wisdom Speaks in her infinite wisdom and her amazing channel out there, doing so much for the missing and the indigenous missing as well. We appreciate that so very much from Miss Wisdom Speaks. Guys, please check it out. What are you doing? Once again, if you have not subscribed and hit that notification bell, what are you doing with your life? Go check it out. Show some love and support to Wisdom Speaks, Miss Sherry herself. Please and thank you. I appreciate that so very much. There's the links, guys. It only takes a second to do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that so very much. Mama Bear is not with me. It is too late for Mama Bear. She's sleeping already, guys. Or maybe she's supposed to be. She might pop in the chat. She always does here and there. But again, she'll be back with me tomorrow. More than likely in the morning show. So, guys, jump on in, grab a seat. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are, whatever it is. I hope it's great for you, or good for you, because it's great to be here with you guys. Thank you so very much. Who do we have, speaking of which, in here so far? Miss Stormy's in the house, The Last 24. Welcome back, Mikey. Wisdom Speaks, always a pleasure. Sassy Cassie's in the house tonight. James Moen, hello and welcome back, my friend. Angel D, What is going on? Good to see you. Good to have you here. Let's see here. The musical Contessa, welcome back to you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Marv Alpert, hello and welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. I'll have to check that, sir. I will definitely check it. Doc, welcome back. Great to see you this weekend. Great to have you here. I will definitely check it, Marv. No worries. Just let me finish through here and I'll go in there looking now. Oh, let me see. Who am I missing? Anybody? SRBBBBB. Good to see you tonight. Princess Griftis, thank you for being here. Great to see you tonight as well. Let me see. Who else do we have? The Morgue is in the house. Good to see you. Kelly Coker, welcome back to you. I know, always a pleasure and an honor to have you all here with us. Sunday Fun Day, Stormy says, hey. All right. Come on in. Dagburn, Johnny Gobble's Dead Floozy, Mama's in the house, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate you so very much. All right. Let's see. Hold on here. Rissa Roberts, welcome back. Great to see you tonight. And Stitch is in the house. Welcome. Michelle Tully, great to see you tonight as well. Thank you for joining us tonight. Miss Charlotte, welcome back. Great to see you. Let me see here. The Aurora, welcome, Aurora. Good to see you. CZ, welcome back to you. Lisa Wilson, always a pleasure to have you here tonight. As always, great to see you all. Klein is in the house with Missing Black People, the Forgotten Guys. Let's put that link out if we can. Teresa, great to see you tonight. Thank you for being here as always. Again, guys, as you're coming through that door, just take a quick second, hit that like button, and please let everybody know what we're doing and share this out. Thank you, and I appreciate that so very much. The Seahawks band is in the house. Miss Tandy, Jeff C., welcome back to you. The Karma Police, great to see you tonight. Everybody better behave. Popo is in the house. Let's see. Jeff C.'s got a great question we can talk on a little bit too. Where is that tomboy? Where's she at? I know she's in here somewhere, at least listening. She's got them ears in here. Let's see here. You better take it easy there, Angel. You don't want to get Mrs. Dago going. I promise you don't. Ray is in the house. Welcome back, Ray. Great to see you. Thank you, James. I appreciate that very much, my friend. Do we have our Molly here? Is she here? Molly. Good golly. Miss Molly. Good to see you. Good to have you here. That is a TV, James. It's just a TV playing a fireplace. It looks good. I don't know that it feels good. It just looks good. All right. Let's see. I think I got everybody so far. Morgan Betty's in the house. Cheers, my friend. Good to see you. Great to have you here, as always. I know, Angel. Why don't I see Molly? I see everybody else saying hi to her, but I don't see her. Where are you, Molly? Molly. Why do I not see you? I don't know. Okay, 72 peeps in the house, and we got 48 likes, guys. Let's see if we can make that match. Your favorite uncle's in the house. Hello and welcome back. Good to see you tonight. See all these meatballs jumping in the sauce with us. Tomboy's laying down. Okay. Awesome. My bad lie. It's all good, James. It's all good. There you go. I thought Molly was here. Oh, well. Okay. Grab a seat, guys. The latest script drop. I have not, Josie. I don't watch too much of him, Josie, but good to see you tonight, Josie, by the way. I don't see her either. Hold on. Let me check something real quick. Let me check it out here. Hold on. Hang on a minute. Okay. Let me see. Show. North Carolina Mountain Man, what's happening, brother? Good to see you. Show. Guys, again, I'm going to ask everybody. We don't know if it's okay, James. No worries. No worries, bro. That I'm going to ask everybody here if we can. One of our community members gotten into a pretty serious car accident earlier this morning, and she's still not feeling the greatest. So please keep feeling your thoughts and prayers, guys. Please just that she heals up okay and everything turns out to be all right. Please and thank you. I appreciate that very much. Welcome, Oho name died. Good to see you. You as well, Mount Man. I hope you had a great weekend, brother. Thank you, Angel. And yes, thank you, SRB. She said she was doing okay, but she's struggling with a little bit of stuff. I think she might have cracked something. So just keep her in your thoughts and prayers, please and thank you. The best thing we can do as a community is to support our own. So come on down. Okie dokie. Let me see. Rowena's in the house. How are you? All right, let's see. 82 peeps now, guys. 54 likes. We're going to get there in a minute. Summer Thunder, welcome. Just trying to wait for everybody to jump in. I'm giving you guys a few minutes. LR, welcome back. Great to see you. Wonder if Eddie's going to show up tonight. I'm surprised. Come on in, everybody. Grab a seat. Scott Metalhead, welcome, my friend. Good to see you, sir. I'm going to guess that we have the same taste in music based on your name. Appreciate that. Come on in, everybody. Double checking to make sure I caught everybody. Sometimes people slip through the cracks. Great question, Jeff. So far, you put out a few great questions, Jeff. That would be pretty cool, James. I agree with you on that. This one here, yeah, that'd be pretty neat, I think. Let's see if we can put that together in a print shop. See if we got anything, the True Crime Cafe store for our merchandise. Maybe we can. There's our tomboy. Yes, I missed you. Great to see you. Is Eddie in here? One made in it. Did he come in? I don't see him. I don't see him. 101 peeps in the house. 63 likes, guys. Lord, if we can make that match, we will hit that algorithm. And that's where we need to be. Thank you, Storm. Sorry, Mikey. Lord, sorry about that, bro. Yeah, thank you, Mikey. Guys, that link right there will take you to the True Crime Cafe shop. If you guys want to go check out any of our merch over there and or request anything, you're more than welcome to do that. We will check it out and see what we can provide. But we have plenty in there now. The prices are great. The materials are awesome. The shirts and hoodies and all that, great material, guys. Really are. They're well worth it. And they're not priced too bad. So go check it out if you're interested, by all means. I thought I seen him here, but I guess he's not here. It happens. Thank you again, Mikey. Look what the cat drug in. The tomboy and the bird. The bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word. If there's anything anybody once you go into the cafe store, if you're interested in something you would like to have, please check it out. Papa G, what the heck? Papa G, Papa G Uppa P inverted. Oh, okay. Welcome. Sorry, if it took me a minute to read that. My apology. Summer Jay, great to see you. Papa G says, hey, all. It's okay, Mikey. It's all good, bro. I'm sorry. Guys, while we're waiting, if you want to check out and follow our social medias platforms, we have our Facebook page, SRB, through the link up real quick. Check it out, guys. Follow it. Miss Sherry does an amazing job over there with it, and I am very, very pleased and happy to say that. So go check it out and follow it if you will. We also have a TikTok that Miss Brandy handles. Once we get that link in here, go check that one out too. Doobie Brothers. There's our TikTok link right there. Thank you so very much, SRB. Papa G, G-Up-E. Inverted. That's funny. I love it. Sorry. Made me feel dumb for a minute. I had to look at it again, but it's all good. Like it. I like it. Somebody's thinking there. Using their brain. So, like I said, guys, tonight we're going to be talking about, it's an open discussion in general about things seen and heard and things seen and heard then and now. I'm going to go back through some interviews, statements that were made, discuss what we heard then, and how it turned out to be now. If it's still the same, if it's not the same, guys, I heard the most ridiculous thing, and I'm telling you, the most ridiculous thing. You should join me up here, Tomboy, but you're in bed, so you probably don't want to. I get it. The most ridiculous thing I've ever heard thus far in this case. I have to tell you, it is the most ridiculous thing. I'm not going to put out here who said it. If some of you guys were probably in there when it was said, because I've seen a few of you guys over there, here and there. Now, I heard that Brian Killer committed this crime, and chose to use a K-bar knife because later down the road, that way he could be called Koberger, the K-bar killer. Are you serious? That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard as far as that type of stuff so far. That's just so what. So again, it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous to say stuff like that. I mean that's and it's not news. It was something somebody stated, not that it was something that was put out there for real. It was just something somebody made up. You know what I mean? And another creator thing. So yeah, he did this and used that so he could be called Koberger, the K-bar killer later. Like that is so. So crazy. Yes, Papa G, I do. I've watched the Sally Port video and it really tells me a lot. I agree with that, Papa G. Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. But that statement is just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I had to laugh, like the creativity that it takes to do some of this stuff, you know? It's Brian Koberger, the K-Bar killer. There's our wisdom. Wisdom speaks. Yes, Josie, I word for word, I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. Good old Gray. Good old Gray. Just leave it to him. I'll say that. Ray Knightley, good to see you. The talk about Dylan's dad. There was a document that was put out that they're bringing in a specialist, an expert, to pick apart text messages and phone messages between Dylan and her father that were either deleted or they just want to different, understand or just break them down or something like that or pull them back out. I don't know. I don't know 100% what it's about, Ray, but that's what they're talking about. It was in one of the documents we got recently. Contestant says, I'm really concerned for Mr. Koberger, who I have felt always just was not the right guy. He reminded me so much of a couple guys I went to school with, and I just felt from the start that it was not him. And a lot of people feel that way, Contessa. I get it. Under and over, it's in the house. Welcome. Good to see you tonight. They don't, Tomboy. That's the thing. There is no definitive evidence on him. It's in the DNA is even questionable. So I don't know. I did too. I really did for a long time. Somewhere in the very beginning, I did. And I kind of sat in the middle on the fence, like I've stated for a long time. And I leaned towards the guilt side of this because I was trusting in law enforcement and the legal system and the judicial system and all that until the past month. And I really, 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 really struggle. I really feel there's a lot of innocence on his side of things. I feel he's very, very much innocent now. Okay. All it took was one document to read that there was nothing but lies being told. And that they're purposely misrepresenting information being given to the court to cover something else up, per se. Don't know. Yeah. Mike, great point, bro. Truly, the only thing that isn't questionable is the date that it happened. We do know that's a fact, Mike. Agreed, bro. There's other DNA available now, too. Awesome Town Matt, welcome. I listened to a Gilter show last night, and this lady was saying Brian killed some random dog, and they were going to dig up dog to match. That didn't happen. That wasn't him. The dog that they found skinned on campus, that wasn't him, Matt. So they already proved that it wasn't. I can't believe they're comparing him to Bundy. It doesn't match as far as I'm concerned, Papa. It doesn't. I see you, Brandy. I said hello to you twice, hon. Brandy B, my OG. You didn't hear me again. Need some Z's in the house. Good to see you. Deleted text messages, phone calls, Snapchats, pictures that were deleted between Dylan and her father, and more stuff. So, yes. North Carolina says, I think with social media and as big as this case became, it would be hard for the real killer to not involve themselves somehow. Oh, it's a good point, sir. Could be. Could be. Let me see here. What did you say? I'm back stuck on Enon. Doc sure makes a good case for it. I can't let it all go. Well, like I said, guys, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pull up some old interviews and statements and some videos. And we're going to review these and talk about them and break them down and things that we heard then as compared to things we have heard now and so on and so forth. So, C. Tiris, welcome. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Miss Girl, welcome back. Good to see you tonight, hun. Unsolved cases in news. Welcome. Good to see you tonight. Agreed. Twinkle's in the house. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us. 138 amazing and beautiful peeps in the house. Thank you guys so much for joining us, guys. We got 75 likes in here. Let's see if we can make that match, you guys. Please and thank you. I appreciate you very much. Her and her daddy going to Snapchat shady, don't you think? And hello, by the way. Thanks for the live. And thank you for being here. And yes, I do. Jacob Monster 999. Hello. Welcome, my friend. Question: could the white car scene, the LL footage, be a decoy to get people's attention off part of the house? It could be. It could be. And I'll tell you guys right now, I truly and honestly, hey, Joey, welcome. I hope you had a great birthday yesterday, my friend. I truly and honestly, and I've said this time and time again, believe there's another car that contained people that was driving in that area because Brian wasn't there. Brian was out somewhere else. And it's been proven to an extent, and it's going to be proven more, in my opinion. But there's another car that had some peeps in it driving around there that night, that one that they should actually be looking at, in my opinion. That's just, again, my opinion. Guys, there's many Elantras. Hell, I'll pull up the Oregon Elantra video if you want to go through that. I'm just telling you. Brian wasn't there that night. Twiz explained it again and again. Twiz went there. He checked it out. The timing advanced data proves that, in a sense, okay? He wasn't there. Wasn't there. I am dead set on and believing that there was another vehicle, even for that matter, another Elantra that was driving around that area that night that had 2 to 3, 3 to 4 people in it. That is the vehicle that they should have hardcore looked at, but they didn't. Thank you, Miss Tandy. Oh, our lovely Annie. Interesting. This is interesting. Thank you, Tandy. Quite interesting. So, of course, we all know who Miss Potts is, Annie Potts. I love her to death. She knows, she's so very smart. She reads these documents, breaks them down. She knows exactly what everything means. She's been great with this. I've learned a lot from her. Yes, Gina, and welcome, by the way. So, this is an interesting statement. Thank you very much, Tandy. As most everything that Annie says is. You read this. It says, contrary to what is shown on TV, there is no way to definitively match one specific knife to a particular wound. The closest we could get would be finding a broken segment of the blade within the body. Exactly. And I know that from experience in what I did, folks, as a first responder, that happens, okay? And even then, one must imagine that there is more than one knife in the world that has a broken tip. While the world would be much a simpler place if such answers were possible, it's our duty our duty as scientists and physicians to be honest about the limitations of science and avoid speculation. Amen, Annie. Guys, if we can, mods, can we put Annie's link in the chat, please? I want you guys, if you have not, please jump over, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for Miss Potts, and don't miss anything she puts out, please. I would really, really appreciate that. Seriously. She deserves that support because she puts out some great stuff. So please, 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 let's drop that link. Jump over, subscribe to Miss Potts if you have not yet done it. Like it, hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss it, please. Thank you for that. That's a great statement and very, very honest. Idaho injuries and wound patterns and forensics that should be expected. See, that's a great statement. It really is. Really is. There it is. Thank you, SRB, guys. Check that out. Click that link, jump over, and subscribe to Miss Annie, or Miss Potts, as she likes to be called. Don't call her Annie, please. But anyway, and tell her Dago sent you over there. You guys, You will definitely not be disappointed. She breaks it down. She makes a lot of damn sense. So go check it out. Thank you again, SRB. Come on in, come on in. That's interesting. Under and over it. Do we have a birthday in here? A hoe named Ida. Do we have a birthday in here? No, we don't. Do we? Don't we? Today your birthday, Ida. North Carolina said Brian's phone might have been off, but we know Dylan's was on. 100%, bro. We know she wasn't sleeping either. At 3:51, she put a new contact in her phone. Thank you, Papa G. Again, I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Tomorrow, okay. All right, then. You make sure you tune in tomorrow, Ida. Please. Your birthday was on Thursday. Well, geez, Twinkle. I didn't even know that. You guys, if you're here on your birthdays, we celebrate it, just so you know. All right. Let me pop this up here. Pin that as soon as it loads in. I'll pin the link to open up. Oop, hold on. The discussion to be able to have people. And again, if anybody wants to join me up here on the panel for the open discussion, all I ask is that you come backstage and show your face for a matter of seconds. And then you can close your camera down. You don't have to leave it up at all. I just need to see it backstage once. Okay. That way I can ensure you're going to show your face and not your waist. That's all that matters. After that, you're good. And if you're a regular up here, you know, I know who you are and I can check it. So Miss Leslie is in the house. Tell Billy best wishes. I hope he's doing okay. I'm thinking about him daily, keeping him in my prayers. So thank you for joining us tonight, Leslie and Billy both. Monday here already, so I get to say happy birthday from the future. There you go, Angel D. Down under. Great, Joey. I'm glad to hear that, my friend. Not the waist. No, no, no. Thank you, SRB. Absolutely, Miss Leslie. God bless. We love you. Thanks, Papa G. Much appreciated. Anybody has not subscribed here yet, please do that. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything we put out. And hit that like button for me, please and thank you, guys. We're at 89 likes. I think we got 145 people in here. I think we can make that happen somehow or another and get this in that algorithm. Eve Lucky's in the house. Welcome back, Eve. Wonderful to see you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for that, Miss Stormy. Again, a friendly reminder, everybody's thoughts, theories, and opinions are so very important to us here. We appreciate everyone's voice. Please be kind to each other, most importantly. Treat the mods with respect and each other as you would expect to be treated yourself, folks. That's all we ask of anybody. We do want to hear your voice, your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions on this. You have that right. You may disagree with somebody and they may disagree with you, but that's okay. It's what makes us different, folks. Any truth to the rumor that Brett and Brian swam laps together? I've never heard that before, but that could be. Anything could be. You know, there's things out there we don't know. Lots of things we don't know yet. So who knows? Jacob, welcome again. The question is, in your opinion, do you think the K-bar was already in the house? You know, I thought about that before. That was brought up to me a long time ago. All you know, most of you know who Sarge is. A very good friend of mine. He's part of our family as well. Sarge said to me, Dago, I think that it could have been that K-bar knife was in the house. It was given to one of the girls for protection, especially considering where it was found, and that she could have slept with it. Maybe there was an inkling in her mind that something was going to go awry that night, so she slept with it for protection, and it just happened to be a fight broke out or some kind of an assault happened, and it was used in the commission of the crime. That's something I've thought about many a times. And again, that's Sarge's thought on this and has been for a long time. So yes, I do believe that could be. Mark and Betty, I'm an only child. They go 13 pounds. Good God, bro. It's okay. Well, you got more family here, Mark and Betty. No worries. I hope that's a good answer for you, Jacob. The best answer I can give you, my friend. Amber, that's right, Angel. Corruption. There's definitely something going on there. 152 peeps, guys. 97 likes. We're almost there. We can make that break 100 and hit that algorithm. I know we can do that. Would it not have the victim? Well, probably would. That's a good point, Rowena. And if it doesn't, then yeah, that would change things. Dylan had a K-bar. I don't know that she did, Joey. I know there's a picture of her holding something, but I think that was a Photoshop photo. 101 likes. You guys did it. Thank you so much. We hit the algorithm, folks. We are good to go. Keep hitting that like button if you come in here, please. And please leave a little DNA on that like button. Thank you. It's been talked about a lot, Stitches, and it's a grand possibility that somebody went in there, got into a fight. Yes. In the midst of that was there. Somebody grabbed it and used it in the, you know what I mean? And it turned ugly. That's not so far out of the realm of possible to me. Welcome, Hunter's Moon. Thank you, SRB. Yes, we're in the algorithm, folks. As always, thank you so much for that. No detention for anybody, so Stormy said. Thank you so much, SRB. Maybe it wasn't a K-bar. That's absolutely positively possible. Just because that sheath was found does not mean that was denied. Thank you so much, Papa G. I appreciate that. Dropped a super sticker for me, $10. I appreciate that so very much with the rolling around laughing pear. Wearing a headband. That's cute. By the way, thank you guys for anybody that chooses to support the channel via super stickers or super chats, or if anybody chooses to use the Cash App, PayPal, or the Venmo links there. We don't ever expect that, you guys. I promise you. But we definitely appreciate it, guys, because it helps to keep me going. It takes care of the bills, internet, and all that fun stuff. So any donations are definitely appreciated, but never expected. So thank you so very much, guys. God bless. Oh no, Rondi's in the hospital. Not sure why we sent her purse. Jesus. Yeah, again. Ronnie Potter, guys, I guess is having a rough time right now, too. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. We appreciate that. Anybody from any of these communities around here, I don't want to see nothing bad happen to anyone, whether I agree with them or not, but I appreciate anybody. We need to support each other, period. So thank you for that info, Leslie and Billy. Guys, please keep Ronnie Potter in your thoughts and prayers, and hopefully she will be okay. Positive thoughts. Mikey, that was a yeah, at the neighbor's house. It was a one of these things. What the hell is it called? I can't think of it right now. The name of it, but yeah, it was a machete. That's it, a machete. Excuse me. Yes, that was a machete, Mike. But somebody had one. Agreed. And again, I always said before, because of the way that Steve described the wounds, that I think that it's possible that could have been used too. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Miss Girl. Because again, the wounds were described at one point as deep, large gouges. Okay. Deep and large gouges. Right. Let me see here. Yeah. Well, guys, the reason why I always said that, look, I'm going to tell you something here. The end of a machete, See it? How big the blade is here? Okay. Deep, large, gouged like if you were to, you see what I'm saying? Now that can be made with a K-bar. Don't get it wrong. I'm just saying, but I just always wondered because of that. Sorry. Um, it could have been. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, Mountain Man. I see. Actually, you guys in Brooklyn or the Bronx in New York, there were four kids that were stabbed by an Asian man that went crazy with a couple, three or different knives. The kids are all good. Well, the 11-year-old called 911. There was a boy that was there that ran next door to the neighbor's house. They caught the guy. All the kids are in good shape. They're okay. So yeah, it's crazy. People do crazy things. So yes. But the 11-year-old called 911, caught the situation at hand. Everybody was saved. Everybody's good, including the perpetrator. What are we talking about here? Was that in North Carolina? The story I'm talking about happened in New York and in Brooklyn. I actually watched that with the mods earlier. Matt says, I think the actual learning weapon was not a K-bar. They have to say K-bar because that's what BK bought. And that's the sheath that was placed at the house that was found as well. So thank you for that info, Tomboy. Oh, no worries, Papa G. No worries. I appreciate it. Never expected, my friend, but anything is appreciated. I appreciate that so very much. You have no idea. Yeah. The kids were 11, 13, 14, and 16, I think. Yes, it is very much appreciated, Papa G. Absolutely. Oh, and then they did have the axe throwing contest in town. That was going on. Good point, Matt. Good point. And like I said, because of the situation, the 911 was called immediately. All hiding in a room. They interrupted, and they response time was immaculate, which it could have been and has been in Moscow as well. So, just saying. What is the hearing? There's 2 hearings on the 9th and the 10th. I have to look back to see exactly what it is, Angel. I don't know right off the top of my head. Oh, one thing I did want to review since we're talking about the wounds and the weapons and all that. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I wanted to review. Let's see here. Hold on. All right. Miss Jody, welcome. Canadian cat ladies in the house. Hello, my dear. Good to see you tonight. They know how to hide, make calls. Yes, ma'am, they do. Yes, they do. 8, 11, 13, and 16. Thank you, Tandy. I wrote them down, but I don't have that in front of me now. Steve W., welcome. Good to see you. You know what? At this point, I've started to wonder, Steve, if it was myself. I truly don't, especially when I found out they sent a swab and not the sheath. That changed things in my mind all the way around. All right, guys. I want to review this interview again and listen closely to some things that were stated in this interview. For those of you that didn't see it, those of you that did, you know who this is and what was stated here. And I feel that after this happened, there were some people that had a problem with this lady. Do you think the neighbor guy who lived behind the house on Walenta had something to do with this? It's also difficult to understand because the crime has been dragged out. Very good point, Josie. I don't know for a fact, dear, and I wouldn't want to make a comment on that, but I do question everything now. Everything after what we've seen. That's right. Citrus, Ceteris, they only sent the swab. No sheath. That's scary to me. Sherry, welcome. Good to see you. Yes, Miss Mabbott. And what was not stated, Sherry said, because she couldn't say what she wanted. That's interesting to me. Nobody has seen any more of her after this interview. I'm not saying she's not around anymore. I'm saying nobody has seen her talk to her anymore that I know of. Tomboy said she hasn't been seen since this interview. I don't know. Let's check.
Mabbott, M-A-B-B-U-T-T.
And I'm going to ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing it for 16 years, and I just got reelected for another 4.
So
Welcome, Miss
what is
Paula.
it that, or I guess, when did you get the call on Sunday?
I got the call just a few minutes after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement doing their investigation first. So I didn't actually go to the scene until about 5 or 5:30.
Can you walk us through, like, for our viewers, kind of the process between when police show up and then you guys getting the bodies and doing your examinations?
Sure. Well, law enforcement goes through and looks for any evidence, takes videos and pictures of everything in there, and they'll start talking with people. So I don't really need to be there for that. They can't move the bodies. I mean, the bodies have to stay as they were until the coroner gets there. So that's what my job is, to
And
look at
then
the bodies.
As a coroner, do you guys do the autopsies and all that?
No, we some do if they're an actual medical examiner, but we have forensic pathologists and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene with 4 murdered college students.
You're ruling all 4 deaths homicides?
Yes.
Okay. And can you give us a manner of death? Yeah.
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So
stabbings.
Yeah, I will know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
And do you believe this could be like a murder-suicide or?
No, there are 4 homicides.
4 homicides. Okay. And when it comes to doing the investigation post-autopsy, that falls on you, correct?
Yes. It's my job to determine the manner and mechanism of death.
And then I know with toxicology results, there.
Welcome, Brandy Lucero. Thank you for the super chat. I feel like Brian may have been watching the girls, seen things happening, may have grabbed his knife, went in to help, and when he got there, they were already passed and he lost the sheath. It's interesting. Interesting theory. Welcome, Critical. You haven't seen her because she was disciplined for having contact with the G's following autopsies to the point that the G's reported her. I have heard that. Yes. Again, thank you so much, Brandy, for that super chat. And that theory is interesting. It's quite interesting. Well, yeah. Why have they never released the autopsies? Well, probably because of the gag, but I think that'll be coming soon too. Very interesting, I'll say. Very interesting. And that theory is quite interesting too. And thank you again. I appreciate that, Brandy, so much. The support is amazing, and we appreciate it so very much here. I feel like in the beginning, she maybe wasn't 100% sure how to react to this. She seemed really nervous. That's just how my take was on her here. I don't know, though. I don't know what to say. Yes, thank you so much. That is so very much appreciated.
Can often be, at least in Washington, a delay. So do you have any idea how long it could take, if those were relevant, to get any type of results back on that?
Well, the toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. But they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
And do we know how long between the time of death and when police found them, approximately?
No, I don't know for sure.
Do we have like any, like, could it have been hours? Could it have been a day? Was it maybe close? Like, is there any sort of like time frame there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, gotcha.
And you said the scene was really difficult. I mean, is this something you've had to deal with before in Moscow?
Since I've been coroner, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicide scenes that I've been involved in. So
since Kathy's been coroner in Moscow, there were 2 other multiple homicide scenes she was part of. I don't know if anybody knew that or not, but that's true. Yes, Cat Lady, that did come out. That was stated. Let me see. Just trying to catch up with chat here. Okay, hold on. Let me play that.
Would you say this is probably the most gruesome?
oh, it's hard to just single it out. It's the only one I've been to where there have been 4 people at one scene. There have been the other ones have had multiple scenes.
And was anybody else injured, like any non-deceased people?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't necessarily be notified either.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like because the injuries could be similar that matter to you.
Oh,
But
right.
no. Okay.
Were the deceased all in close proximity to each other, or were they in different rooms?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
That was my next question too. So I think, yeah.
Will we be able to get a copy of your report once it's concluded? I'm sure it'll be.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just call.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you know what the time frame for that would be?
It just depends on how relevant the toxicology report is, but
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. So it was like the 4 to 6 weeks.
it could
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. ET.
And I'm going to ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing it for 16 years. I just got reelected for another 4.
So what is it that, or I guess, when did you get the call on Sunday?
I got the call just a few minutes after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement doing their investigation first. So I didn't actually go to the scene until about 5 or 5:30.
Can you walk us through, like, for our viewers, kind of the process between when police show up and then you guys getting the bodies and doing your examinations?
Sure. Well, law enforcement goes through and looks
Welcome,
for any
Tina.
evidence, takes videos and pictures of everything in there, and they'll start talking with people. So I don't really need to be there for that. They can't move the bodies. I mean, the bodies have to stay as they were until the coroner gets there. So that's what my job is, to
And
look at
then
the bodies.
As a coroner, do you guys do the autopsies and all that?
No, we some do if they're an actual medical examiner, but we have forensic pathologists and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene with 4 murdered college students.
You're ruling all 4 deaths.
So again, she claims that there was a lot of blood that she saw. Nobody else talked about that via 911 or anything, but okay. Well, I'll just let that be what it is. It doesn't really mean anything.
Sides?
Yes.
Okay. And can you give us a manner of death? Yeah.
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So
stabbings.
yeah, I will know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
And do you believe this could be like a murder-suicide or?
No, there are 4 homicides.
4 homicides. Okay. And when it comes to doing the investigation post autopsy, that falls on you, correct?
Yes, it's my job to determine the manner and mechanism of death.
And then I know.
I've had other people say that critical years, like a year or so ago, that she didn't even go inside the scene. I don't know. I can't say that because I wasn't there, but I've heard other people say that before.
So with toxicology results, there can often be, in Washington, a delay. So do you have any idea how long it could take, if those were relevant, to get any type of results back on that?
Well, the toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. But they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
And do we know how long between the time of death and when police found them, approximately?
No, I don't know for sure.
Do we have like any, like, could it have been hours? Could it have been a day? Was it maybe close? Like, is there any sort of like time frame there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, gotcha.
And you said the scene was really difficult. I mean, is this something you've had to deal with before in Moscow?
Since I've been coroner, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicide scenes that I've been involved in. So,
Would you say this is probably the most gruesome?
oh, it's hard to just single it out. It's the only one I've been to where there have been 4 people at one scene. There have been the other ones have had multiple scenes.
And was anybody else injured, like any non-deceased people?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't necessarily be notified either.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like because the injuries could be similar, it might matter to you.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Were the deceased all in close proximity to each other, or were they in different rooms?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
See, that I don't understand why that couldn't have been discussed, but that's my inexperience with that type of stuff. I don't know. Hey, Jeff, I wonder if toxicology was done, taking 4 to 6 weeks, or maybe done, but to her, it's clear that the cause of death surely was the blood escaping from the bodies. Well, yeah, that's why she said they were irrelevant to this, but still. I don't think bodies are moved. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying, Brown Eyes, is typically, like, for the scenes that I've been on, yeah, nobody's supposed to touch anything until she shows up. You can go in and check the bodies to make sure that they're deceased or whatever you have to do, but if they're deceased, you have to wait for her or whoever the coroner is to call it, and then they can be moved after the fact. Nobody can do anything until that person shows up to move those bodies, period. That's how it works here too. Welcome, Dana Renee. Good to see you. So glad you're on. I really needed friend day. Well, you have plenty of friends here, Miss Dana. Promise you that. So
My next question too. So I think, yeah.
Will we be able to get a copy of your report once it's concluded? I'm sure it'll be.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just call.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you know what the time frame for that would be?
It just depends on how relevant the toxicology report is, but
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. So it would like the 4 to 6 weeks.
it could
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
okay. Let me see something here. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Hold on here. Okay. Let me see here. Thank you, SRB. Okay. Oh yeah, I got to check these emails. I'm sorry. Hold on. Where are we at here? Somebody sent me a message stating I was listening to Lana, which, true to transparency. Lana's done amazing with this. She's done so much with it. And she played a clip from JLR. He had Daily Mail interview about Eric Gower. Dylan texted Eric 14 minutes after he either picked the girls up or dropped them off at home. It was after he dropped him up at home at 1:56, asking if he was still driving. Yes, and then no further response from Dylan Mortensen. Could that have been DM being a lookout for whoever, making sure the girls were home? Was DM even home when K and M came home? DM may have actually carried out. I don't know. I don't know, Tina. I don't know. It's interesting now. Thank you for that. And somebody else said they sent me an email too. Hold on. Hold on here. Hold on. Okay, hold on. If I don't recognize names, it takes me a minute sometimes to find it in here. Okay. Got him. All right, guys. Sorry. Jess, Debbie, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you, Siri. It's the time was stated critical from Olivia. I should say that the girls, that Kaylee and Maddie were dropped off supposedly at 1:56 a.m. That's that I had heard from her in an interview. That's what was understood, I guess, at that point. Understood. Unsolved cases, yes. So do you think it was a different time than critical? All right, hang on. Somebody sent me this and asked me to play this today. So this is an interview with one of the roommates that used to live in that house beforehand. So like I said, it fits things seen and heard then and now. So it's no worry to me.
Here in the studio with us and has more. Good morning to you, Kate.
Robin, good morning. So Ashlyn Couch moved out of that house on King Road months before her friends were murdered. And this morning, she shares the memories, both happy and haunting, including the moment she got that vandal alert that changed everything.
I mean, I couldn't even walk to my car in the dark for months after, it happened.
Fear lingering with Ashlyn Couch after her friends were stabbed to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho, a home where she too once lived.
It crosses my mind more that could have happened while I was there. And, you never know like how long someone is watching your house.
The 6th bedroom on King Road was hers. And now this morning, she's speaking out for the first time on camera since Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin were murdered in November.
Listen, SRB, I agree with that. But people do things differently in different places. I'm going to say any scene I've been on where we had to wait on the coroner before we could do any kind of removals or anything, they're usually there as soon as possible. Granted, they do have to wait for police to secure a scene, but the coroner comes quickly. That was quite a long time. I'll say that. I've always been a little uncomfortable with how long that she waited. Now, was she waiting for Payne and Fry to show up? Because he was the lead detective? Maybe. I don't know. Which is still a little different to me, but so be it, I guess. I don't know. Right. That's what I'm saying. Charlotte said, I looked it up and the coroner is called in right away before Ellie does their investigation. See, and I was always under the assumption that happened that way too, from what I had seen personally in my experiences. This was different. Was it, like I said, was it because they had to wait for the lead detective? What was the deal with this one? This was police got there at noon. Okay. And she was informed of it at noon, she said, but was not allowed to respond. I'm going to say she was told not to respond until 4 or 5. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's crazy. Yeah, let's not go into graphic details about what happened with the victims, guys. I don't want to do that here. Other than the wounds that we know about from documents or weapons. That's it. We don't need to go into anything more than that because I don't want to be by any means whatsoever disrespectful to the victims. And that would be, to an extent, somewhat disrespectful in my opinion. That's all. Let's see. Gunderson was in charge of the scene after the murders and he never called EMS. Well, here, the call to EMS went in initially, Uncle. Did they hold them back? I believe they did because of processing the scene. They had to be processed and locked down, per se, secured. That's why EMS never went into that house, which was still strange to me because I've been to these types of scenes, nothing this dramatic, but I've seen it, and they still have EMS observe the bodies to ensure things are what they are. That was that, but I don't know if this was different for some reason. So I don't know, something strange with it.
November of 2022. Ashlyn initially signed the lease to live in the popular off-campus home, telling our station KXLY that she moved out in May of 2022 after graduating the semester before. But she stayed close with the girls, especially Maddie, sharing the last message she sent to her after getting an alert from the University of Idaho that there had been a suspected homicide.
I texted our group of friends and I just had said, has anyone heard from Maddie? And I remember my last text message to her was are you okay? And I feel like right then and there, I kind of just knew that something was wrong.
The man charged with their murders, Brian Koberger, a judge entering a not guilty plea on his behalf, as his defense team says he was out driving that cold November night, as he often did, to hike or stargaze. But prosecutors allegedly linking Koberger to the heinous crimes through DNA left on the button strap of a knife sheath found underneath Maddie.
You wish that you could just say goodbye, and that's one.
A button strapped to a knife sheath found underneath Maddie.
Thing that I just wish that I could do at least one more time is just give her one last hug just to be able to say goodbye.
Now, the home that they shared has been torn down. The next hearing in this case is May 14th, and Koberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, says she will deliver a witness list and exhibits that she says will support his alleged alibi. And you guys might remember they've also said they'll rely heavily on expert testimony from cell phone experts to prove what they say he was doing that night.
Oh, wow. This is chilling.
It's true. It certainly is.
Thank you for bringing it to.
I respect that, Debbie. I do. Absolutely respect it. A lot of people. Do I agree with you at this point? Probably not. I don't, based on the things I've seen, but I do absolutely respect your feelings on that. And I can, to an extent, I can see why you could think that way, to an extent, 100%. So I respect that from you. I played, I don't know why they wanted me to play that, but there you go. Well, there we go, Charlotte. That's my thought right there. How did Payne see it from the door? It wasn't even Payne. He was told and said he saw it through a body cam video that he saw it if it was under her. There's things wrong with the way these things are written in here too. I've never been comfortable with that, so I'll just say that. Let me see here. No worries. Again, Debbie, I see it again there. I get it. There's just a lot that tells me he's not at this point with everything we've seen, and that's rough. It's rough for me to go. I've tried to envision everything that points to Brian to make him guilty, and it doesn't now. It just doesn't. We've been told the opposite of these things. You know what I mean? So just saying. Anyway, that one we can move on from there. Welcome, Michelle. Yeah, it was the button snap. Thank you, Michelle. Tanel Ray, welcome. From what was stated to us before is that the sheath was under Maddie's thigh, under a comforter. Like it was tucked under there. Now, this is my thing. If somebody, I'm going to ask this question too. Somebody goes in to commit this crime. They have the knife and the sheath together, okay? This is not a K-bar by any means, you guys. I'm just showing you in this for a demonstration. They go in to commit this crime. They remove the knife from the sheath, which I still think is strange, but okay. They remove the knife from the sheath, okay? And then you have the sheath. If you're in the midst of committing the crime, you need two hands per se. So, yeah, you would drop it. You drop it. Or set it down. At the very most, you set it down on the bed next to you if you're doing it that way. Why would you tuck it underneath somebody? If you're in the midst of attacking that person, why would this be tucked underneath them? That doesn't make sense to me either. If that's true, okay? I think it would just be laying there. Or it could have been, with all the commotion that was probably going on, anywhere. Should have been anywhere in that room, on the bed, on the floor, across the room, wrapped up in the blankets, in the tussle, yes, okay? But to be tucked up underneath that person is strange to me. And it could be outcast. It could be that that's where it ended up during the commotion, the tussle, the fight, whatever, struggle. See, I don't think there was one with Maddie. I don't. But with Kaylee, I definitely do. I definitely feel that Kaylee fought back and tried to defend herself, 100%. So that's, again, just saying. So there's that. There's all these little things that have been stuck in my mind that I cannot get out of my mind about this, that has me thinking repeatedly again and again and again about this stuff. So there's that. I don't know about that, Marv, but let me see here. I'm just keeping up with chat, you guys. Bear with me. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move on to something different here. Hold on here. I got some new stuff too that I wanted to throw out here. Hold on. There was some new stuff dropped from Law and Crime, so on and so forth, talking about how he can cover up a crime. Now, it was stated, because here's the thing that I want to put out there. I'm going to flip this around, okay? Partly, I think it's in that, and a couple other creators put it out too, that Brian was in a doctorate program a doctoral study program about how to not contaminate or contaminate a crime scene. I'm going to explain something. I'm going to show this real quick here. Hold on a minute. If this is the right one. Give me a second, guys. And I'm going to explain as to why I think he didn't or wouldn't because of that. Where is it at? Excuse me. Oh, that's why. I had the wrong thing put in. Hold on. That's kind of where I wanted to go with a bit of our conversation tonight. Give me a minute here. Where's it at? Where's it at? Okay, let's go with this here real quick. Now that's something that I'm going to flip this over from the direction they're going with this, in my opinion, and what I think of this. Not because I don't want to believe it, but because of the way I see it. So hold on here. This might upset some people. Don't let this bug you, because I know there's people that think he's innocent, this and that. No matter what they say, we have to look at it from both angles, all angles, guys. Thank you, Tanel. Let's check this out.
Are digging into Brian Koberger's past and his schoolwork to try to prove he murdered 4 University of Idaho students. I take a closer look at a crime scene paper that Koberger wrote and why the state says it really matters. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Brian Koberger was a PhD student in criminology. We all know that, and he got really good grades. So it should be no surprise that he knows a thing or two or more about crime scenes. But did he know too much? Prosecutors want to argue at his trial later this year that Koberger knew a lot about crime scenes, how they work, how law enforcement treats them, and how not to contaminate one. And they're digging into his college years and his homework at DeSales University to prove it. Now, to be clear, what Brian Koberger was studying, criminology, is different from crime scene investigation, and we'll talk about how those topics differ later. But could a paper he wrote as an undergrad, this paper right here, help prove that he is a quadruple murderer? Prosecutors believe so. Koberger's attorneys say that he maintains his innocence in the murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. The 4 students were stabbed to death at the house on King Road in Moscow, Idaho in November of 2022. The 4 were students at the university, and this case has captured the attention of people around the world. Koberger had just started his PhD work in criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, about 9 miles away. By all accounts, Koberger arrived in Washington in the summer of 2022. His Washington driver's license was issued on July 1st. An FBI agent is expected to testify for the state that Koberger's phone was within 100 meters or 328 feet of the house on King Road on 23 occasions from July 2022 to November 7th, just 6 days before the murders. Another FBI agent will testify that this white car seen driving to the house on King Road the morning of the murders was the same make and model as the white Hyundai Elantra that Koberger drove. Prosecutors also claim that Koberger's DNA was found on the inner snap of a knife sheath, just like this one, left next to victim Maddie Mogen on her bed at the crime scene. Leaving part of a murder weapon at a crime scene with your DNA on it would seem like a major fail in Crime Scene 101. But right now, we are talking about Criminal Justice 361, forensic investigation. It was a class that Brian Koberger took at DeSales University in the spring of 2020 when he was an undergrad. And the final paper was entitled Crime Scene Scenario.
Now, I want you guys to watch and listen to this. This is really interesting to me for a reason that I'll explain after this.
Final. It has Brian Koberger's name on it and the date, May 5th, 2020. Now, this paper that was authored by Koberger, it's 12 pages long, and the students go by step through step on how to handle a crime scene. Prosecutors want to introduce this paper at Koberger's trial to show his knowledge of crime scenes. Judge Hippler, of course, would have to sign off on this as being relevant. The first part of the paper is entitled Arriving at the Crime Scene. Koberger wrote, "The first thing to be done is block off the crime scene in order to avoid crime scene contamination. Keeping people out of the scene minimizes evidence contamination, though many may be curious to see what occurred. The theory of transfer states that we bring something with us to the crime scene and take something away, thus skewing the crime scene from the original state by contamination. This is because the original state of the crime scene was left by the criminal suspect. A lack of contamination allows the scene to be a snapshot in time." So right there, Koberger is demonstrating for the professor that he knows how important it is to take precautions when entering a crime scene and that you can leave evidence of yourself behind when entering. Koberger then writes about the victim, "I must call my immediate supervisor and inform them of the deceased white female who is approximately 35 years of age." Now, one thing that is interesting is that this 35-year-old woman in the scenario is a victim of a stabbing in a trailer park. So that's interesting, given Koberger's current situation. I reached out to DeSales, and a spokesperson told me this was a typical assignment for this class. When I asked if the professor was the one who came up with the scenario, she said she didn't have any other information about the assignment. I want to tell you about FinanceBuzz.com, which is sponsoring this episode of Crime Fix. FinanceBuzz is your link below in the description. Now, Koberger talked in the paper about the importance of calling the coroner if the victim had passed away or calling EMS if they hadn't been called already. This would have been important for many reasons. Her livelihood is one reason, but from the stance of a patrol officer or criminal investigator, she may have given a dying declaration of her attacker when informed of her impending death. There's also a discussion about rigor mortis setting in about 12 hours after death, which can help determine when the person died. The next section is entitled, Equipment I Will Have on Hand for the Investigation. Koberger wrote, "To be prepared for crime scene investigation, I must ensure I have a crime toolkit containing the following." Koberger discusses a 35mm camera or digital camera that can videotape with adequate film and power. Moving down, Koberger writes about needing latent fingerprint equipment and gloves to protect the scene from contamination. This will enable that I avoid leaving my latent fingerprints. He also writes about needing a small saw to take evidence, for example, drywall. And farther down, he writes protective clothing, boot covers, eyewear, fiber-free overalls, face masks, hair nets, gowns, and anything that will prevent me from contaminating the scene with things I bring with me. Now, the next section, entering the home from crime scene documentation and initial photography/videography. Koberger writes, I may enter upon judicial approval of the search warrant and should do so with the minimum number of personnel. Again, Koberger mentions gloves. I must ensure that myself and my fellow crime scene personnel are wearing gloves and other protective equipment as to avoid contaminating the scene with latent fingerprints. A fiber-free boot cover would also be ideal to avoid leaving physical footprints or residue from the boot. Anything that is fiber-free and covers the mouth, hair, and overall body would be helpful in avoiding crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluids or cells may be added to the scene, thus.
Now, all this stuff that's being stated in here is important for one big reason I'm going to explain to you after they're done.
Contaminating it. Now, this paper is very, very detailed, and it discusses documenting everything. The exact time photos are taken, the weather, and the badge number of those involved. Later, Koberger writes, is the mark on her neck related to the hanger near her? The photographs make it sure that these items were indeed present at the crime scene. Then he writes, the knife should be photographed under adequate light and a marker should be placed next to the knife to give the best photographic representation of the evidence. On page 6, Koberger outlines the crime scene sketch and the importance of not including too many details, but there are some interesting things in this section. Koberger wrote, even if there was an item introduced to the scene by an offender to throw off investigators, it is not the job of the criminal investigator processing the crime scene to jump to conclusions. He also wrote, staging is common. For example, the offender may have taken items from the house to make it look like a burglary turned robbery, which went wrong. Koberger also wrote about how evidence can point to an MO, confirming and disproving alibis using federal resources such as the FBI, and the importance of swabbing the victim's fingernails because she may have fought the attacker, and DNA could have been left there. Koberger earned a master's degree in criminology at DeSales, studying under Dr. Catherine Ramsland, a world-renowned forensic psychologist and expert who studies serial killers. She studies the criminal mind, and that's what Brian Koberger wanted to do as well. So that's a different thing from the forensic investigation class that Koberger wrote the final paper for in 2020. So the question is, does this paper really matter when it comes to the case in Idaho? Prosecutors believe it's relevant. And are they going to try to draw some type of connection between this idea that...
Now, what my thought is, guys, and what I truly feel strongly about now, Brian wrote that paper, and the details that he put in there, the ideals, or everything that was in this document here, he knew. Okay, because of the classes that he took at DeSales, what he was taking now at Washington State, all of that stuff. Knowing what he knows based on that paper that he wrote, do you think that this man would go into that house and make the mistakes that he made? Think about that for a minute. The phone, the car, any of the mistakes that were made, the sheath, any of those mistakes. Do you think this man could go into that house and do this and make the mistakes that were made? Because that tells you right there what he knew, which says he knew a lot more. That being said, no. No, I understand, Outcast. You're right. That is absolute facts. But to make the mistakes that were made, the one big one, if it was, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he would have, knowing what he knew. There's proof that he had the intelligence level and the level of knowledge in criminal forensics and criminology type stuff. Okay, crime scenes. Period.
That the person that the surviving roommate saw walking through the house, possibly wearing a mask like this, was covering themselves from head to toe to possibly prevent contamination. We'll have to wait and see. So I want to bring in somebody who's an expert in crime scenes to talk about this. He is the host of the Body Bags podcast, also a professor.
There's a link pinned at the top of the chat if you would like to join, sir. You're welcome. That's anybody tonight. It's an open discussion with an open panel, so please feel free to join us, anyone.
Jacksonville State University.
If you haven't been up here before, just make sure you show your face, so I know that you're trying for a few seconds backstage, so I know you're not trying to show your waist. That's all.
And a forensic death investigator. He is Joseph Scott Morgan. So, Joseph, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. My pleasure joining you, Anjanetta.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you about this. I wanted to get your just, gut reaction, your first thoughts when you read through this paper. This was for CJ 361, forensic investigation class. Brian Koberger took it, crime scene scenario final. When you read through this, what did you think?
Well, I thought it was a standard template that had been given to these undergraduate students. A 300 level class, by the way, is a junior level class. So you're already 3 years in your undergraduate studies at this point in time. So you would have to have this class in order to advance on to the 400 level classes. And success is measured in the sense that as crime scene procedures are being taught to these students, there are certain points that you have to tag along the way, and it's a soup to nuts approach. And I've been involved in multiple programs over the years, both in academia and the training of law enforcement, where it's almost like a recipe, if you will. One committee that I was on at one point in time, we used to use the adage of every scene, every time. And the reason we would say that is so that you get a sense that if you follow the proper procedures every single time, if you go down the list, you're not going to train wreck your case. Okay.
Once again, there were too many important mistakes made that he knew couldn't be made in this type of a situation. And I really, really struggle with the fact that those mistakes were made, knowing what his intellect and his knowledge of this was.
And there's little add-ons that you can do along the way depending upon the nature of the death. But this is very generalized, it's broad, and it's not surprising for this level of education that he would have had at that time.
So it starts with arriving at the crime scene. And he talks about the importance of securing crime scene. I mean, that's like crime scene 101, even though this was, a 300 level class. But he says you got to keep people out, minimize evidence contamination, even though you're going to have some looky-loos running around wanting to see what's going on. He talks about the theory of transfer and about.
No worries, AR. Just giving you the option if you wanted to, my friend. That's all. I understand.
How like every time you go in, you kind of leave something, leave a piece of you there. So he's well aware of this theory.
Now, there's another thing. Thank you, Becky. I was waiting to see who was going to point that out. That paper almost shows you how Moscow PD did not follow protocol as standard protocol in a situation like this when they were doing their forensics and examining the crime scene. So there's 2 for 1 out of this, in my opinion. One, this shows what I just stated there, and that's an opinion, of course. But it also tells me that this man knew the things that needed done to keep, on a crime scene per se. He knows what level of what not to do per se, I guess you could say. And these things were done. People make mistakes, yes. But if you're going to think this out and premeditate a situation like this to the level that it should have been for the situation, one of the main things you're not going to do is leave anything behind. Nothing. Especially not one of the most important things. Okay, if that's the way it's led to believe. That's what we're led to be believing, okay, at this point, is what I'm saying. So, like I said, it's a 2 for 1 that you can get out of this, is what I was stating from what I took from this, okay?
Of transfer, where you enter a crime scene, you can't walk in there without leaving something, even if you're wearing one of those suits or something like that. And then he talks about the original state of the crime scene was left by the criminal suspect. A lack of contamination allows this.
That's how I saw this too, Pamela, that this could actually help the defense prove, like, in a sense, that this man knows these things. How would he make these mistakes? Okay. And that's another one. What motivation would he have, knowing that he's building this career for himself? You're going to throw that down the drain and flush it because of this? I don't think so. Yeah, be safe, AR, on your trip to Boise, please. Thank you, SRB. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate you popping in here, by the way, too, my friend. I hope you're doing good.
Scene to be a snapshot in time. So he knows how to not contaminate a crime scene.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy. I've used this language before.
Right. He knows how to not contaminate. So they're going to try to say, because of his knowledge, but he did contaminate it, though. Okay? In a sense. In the worst possible way, if they're to believe what they're saying, that he left the sheath to the weapon that was used there. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Of all things to do, mistake-wise, I don't believe that.
Before, as you say this to me, and so he's obviously familiar with one of my heroes in forensics, who's essentially the godfather of crime scene investigation. That's Edmond Lecard, who was a scientist that lived in France, and he was a professor at University of Lyon, and he came up with Lecard's principle of exchange, and it merely states that every contact leaves a trace, and you can apply that in context of any forensic practice, whether it be a digital world or it be the physical world, where you've walk into a crime.
Contestant says the perpetrator or perpetrators cleaned up from the inside. It was not 12 to 17 minutes like cops are trying to say. We're supposed to believe that investigators never entered the perpetrator's full sequence DNA into CODIS. That's another good point. Thank you.
I'm saying that might be bloody, that might have multiple deaths, that might have ripped elements laying about, torn furniture, torn clothing, those sorts of things. You have to take care. And the idea.
Again, agreed, especially with defensive moves being held in there. The victims were defending themselves, at least 2 or 3. Okay. And the man had not one scratch on his body or his head or his hair, his face, nothing. And there was 0 DNA on anything he owned. That's a hell of a job, folks. A hell of a job, in my opinion, too. Especially considering what Mabbitt said, there was a lot of blood. A lot. He made it out of that place without taking any of it with him and getting it on anything. I mean, you can try to clean something in every aspect, but there would be, if they did it, checked everything out the way they should have. I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine it.
The idea here is that, and this is kind of interesting when you begin to think about this carnage in Moscow. Anything
exactly, Uncle. I agreed. There was a few things that were not even. They didn't even try to put some of this DNA into CODIS, folks. That's a big problem for me too. You didn't even try it. Why? Oh wait, you didn't have to. This is the guy. That's all there is to it. Nothing else matters. That's it. We're done. It's not how you conduct an investigation, you guys.
Yeah, that perpetrator would have walked into that house with on their person. And I'm not talking about weapons. I'm talking about what's on the soles of their feet, what's on their hands, what's falling out of their head, because you think about hair, and we shed hair, we shed skin. So with the said, and comparing that to this exercise, there's an awareness. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest takeaways in this whole process when you begin to look at Brian Kohberger and his relationship to his academic training, as well as what happened in Moscow.
And you talked about, shedding hair, skin cells, things like that. To our knowledge, and this is all we know, his defense attorney, Ian Taylor, has said in court, this is not Brian Kohberger's DNA all over the place, his blood on walls.
Brian's DNA has been excluded from everything except for one tiny, tiny, tiny little minuscule piece, the tip of that pen, if not smaller, on the inside of a snap button on a sheath that was never sent away to be tested, but a swab that was sent off to be tested. Not a sheath, but the swab. That's the only DNA they found. Hair, skin, blood, nothing at all that belonged to this man, but one tiny, tiny, minuscule little piece of a skin cell underneath the snap button on a sheath. And I question that now because of finding out that they sent a swab, not the sheath, but a swab. Touched or transferred DNA on a swab that was sent off and tested twice, and then the third time it was still questionable, but finally they came to something when the FBI got together and they built a damn tree out of it. So again, how reliable is this stupid DNA that we have if it was not even taken off of the actual piece of evidence that was found, supposedly, but taken from a swab that was sent to them? I do not trust that. I'm sorry, but I don't. Not especially after this swab has gone through how many labs before it was finally figured out? I don't trust it. Prosecution will say he was sloppy, careless, and testing Ellie if they failed, as they have nothing concrete beyond a doubt. The reality is he's intelligent and conscientious. Thank you, Rhode Ellen. And that's a point. If this man right here would have done this, I'm telling you, He would not have driven his own car, in my opinion. He would not have taken his phone, in my opinion. He would not have left a knife sheath, in my opinion. I'm just saying. These are my opinions, guys.
To our knowledge, the only forensic evidence of Brian Koberger in that house is his DNA on the snap of that knife sheath. So that's, we've heard nothing else at this point. So,
except for the fact that he wasn't there. There's that big one too. He wasn't there. He wasn't even in Idaho. He wasn't there. Okay? He wasn't there. I could say it 300 more times. The man wasn't there. So that's pretty important right there.
and it sounds like they're going to say somebody else put that there.
But I don't know how you would go about doing it. And I have to make a point here with Ann Taylor. I found it very interesting in one of her filings the other day. She has stated,
and you know what? I heard that too, Sherry, that there's a video supposedly that was claimed. I haven't heard him say it. Somebody says it's in one of his interviews, but there's supposedly a video where they see Brian coming and going. Where's that at? I'm going to tell you right now. If the prosecution has a video showing Brian Christopher Koberger coming and going from that house, going in and out of it, so on and so forth, case closed. He did it. He's done. Prosecute him to the full extent of the law. I will help you do it. I want to see that. I don't believe it exists. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and call somebody a liar. I don't believe that exists. Because if that existed, the prosecution would have came with a hell of a lot stronger case from the beginning. And that would have been it. We wouldn't have needed anything else. The defense would have been done, okay? I don't believe that exists. Now, I'm sitting here telling you right now on April 6th of 2025, if that comes out and they have that as evidence, every word I just spoke, I will eat with salt and pepper, folks. Fact, okay? And my apologies, I was wrong. Burn the man at the stake, 100%. I'm telling you right now, but I don't believe it exists. That's all I'm saying about that.
That she does not want the prosecution to use the term touch DNA.
Right.
She wants the traditional or the more clinical use of the term trace DNA. And touch, I think, for her at least, implies that hands were put on someone.
He touched it.
Or touched that, or, this.
That's a great point, Gina. Everything else of importance has either been leaked or put out on purpose, okay? Or whatever. And are you kidding me? There's no way in hell that would not have been out there somehow. Or they would have came with it right out of the gate, in my opinion. We have him on video. Boom, boom, boom. They would have gone through all this other bullshit if they had something like this, you guys. In my opinion, I'm just saying. Right, Steve.
This sort of thing. And but internet, that's very difficult to get away from numerically when you're looking at this trace, touch, whatever Ann Taylor, her flavor of the month is, DNA that's been left behind on this knife sheath. You begin to do the calculus is mind blowing, and that's what makes DNA so I'm not going to say foolproof, but it makes it very daunting for the defense. And it's understandable that she would want to, give a head fake and say this is not his DNA or it's somebody else's DNA or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And that's my point, Truth, because Ann has blatantly stated, my client is innocent. Those were her exact words more than once. If they had something, if the prosecution had something, she would have to know about it too, guys. They can't just surprise you with evidence and say, look what we found. They can't do that. They have to show, both sides have to do the same thing. Both sides have to show what they have. You know what I mean? So, no, it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Official, hello and welcome. I feel like they found the multiple tools used for the unaliving and withheld evidence from the public because it proves he's innocent. So they are pinning it on the sheath. Well, we know now, based on Cy Ray's affidavit, that there was exculpatory evidence omitted purposely from the documents that are covering up, as he stated, a much bigger problem. Don't forget that that's there, guys. Welcome, Detective Mowry. I wish I could find the interview. I was like, if you want me to follow up an interview, that's what we're doing tonight, Sherry. Tell me and I will find an interview. Hey, Joanne, good to see you tonight, dear.
I think they're going to have a hard time with that, even though an expert said it's his. I think that they're going to say it's transfer of some sort. I just don't know what kind of transfer they're going to say it was. But he again goes on to talk about, Joseph, the importance of wearing gowns, protective eyewear, hair nets, things like that, so that you're not shedding all over the place. Fiber-free, anything that's fiber-free, covers the mouth, hair, overall body, would be helpful in avoiding the crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, bodily fluids can be left contaminating it. It's interesting to me because, and yes, they're saying, we want to introduce this. We want to introduce this because it shows he knows about a crime scene. He knows his way around a crime scene, how to handle a crime scene. Do they want to show that, like, we?
Yeah, I don't think that he needs new attorneys at all. I think Ann is doing exactly what she should be doing. I think the defense team is doing exactly what they need to be doing. I've come to that conclusion most recently, too. Like I said before, I was a little irritated because of all these motions that were being put through. And then I saw this stuff that we've seen in the past month and realized, okay, she knows what she's doing. That's why she's doing what she's doing. And it makes perfect sense to me now. So I think everything is going along as it should. And I think that the defense team is doing exactly what they need to be doing to do this.
We have a scenario here that involves a stabbing, and our only living witness, DM, says she saw a guy covered head to toe in all black, and all she could see was this. This is all she could see on the guy. Is that part of where they might be going with this?
It's a double-edged sword, and let me tell you why. Because, it's demonstrative of the fact that in his academic background, he had exposure to crime scene processing, and the recipe list from this CJ 361 course at DeSales is something that you would introduce to a new group of detectives, okay? If they're training them at the academy. They're no longer patrol officers, they're new detectives, so you train them in this. But they could say, if they're going to enter this in and say that he has exposure to this, you can say, well, do they have a criminal justice program at the University of Idaho? Do they have one at Washington State University? Do they teach crime scene processing classes? Oh, so this percentage of the student population has had a background in this. Or they could, if they really wanted to slam this home, they can say, well, this, we'd have to include every law enforcement officer that does investigations now, wouldn't we? So it's a two-edged sword. If you use this demonstratively to show that he has had experience with crime scenes and he recognizes this, I suppose it could have a bit of.
There is no way, with the experience in the background that Cy Ray has, that he's going to make a broad and heavy statement like that without backup on it to put himself at risk. No, not even close. No way. No way at all.
Power to it, but everybody else in his class, in order to pass this class, had to do the same thing. So I don't know how much weight it'll bear.
He talked also about looking at things like whether or not, the offender was going to try to throw investigators off by staging the scene or staging the victim. I thought that was really interesting. I mean, this is very, very detailed, but this is a final for the end of the term. So this could be something that lessons learned from everything they studied all semester, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Semester, if you think it lasts, I don't know, it's rough. 14, 16 weeks, hard to say. I'm in the middle of one right now. I just wish it was over with. But when you look at that, you think, well, this is cumulative. And the way we would teach this, certainly here at Jack State, is that we would start with arrival at the scene. And you would be lectured to about these points along the continuum. Why is it important? Well, let's explain and let's see what the text says. This is where you can screw up and this is where you'll have success. So you go through all of these points. And yeah, you could cover this 11-page document very easily. Is it 11 or 14? I can't recall.
12.
It's a blue, 12. There you go, right in the center, meaty part of the curve. So we're right there at 12. And you could do this in a 14-week semester very easily, breaking it down. You'd have module tests, every so often, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, you'd have a test that would encompass the very first part of this document, and then the two mid sections, and then the final section. And then it's cumulative over that period of time. So you would have learned this. And this is a semester ending document that they would have had to have produced. And the grad assistant or the professor would go through and they would grade it and they would look for it point by point. And that's essentially what they're doing. And it is like a recipe. This is not graduate level work, okay, where you're, contemplating perhaps doing research on alternative theories to crime scene processing. This is a very
I agree with you, Melissa. I absolutely do. Do you think FBI was setting up a potential death by cop scenario in PA? Why come in guns blazing instead of picking up always? That's a great point, Jeff. They could have done it way different. Way different. And that's the thing, is that side doesn't do defense. Okay. He always works for the prosecution. And for him to do this for the defense says a lot as far as I'm concerned.
basic kind of procedure. And yes, it's voluminous, but everything we do in forensics is voluminous.
He went into sales. He studied under Dr. Catherine Ramsland, world-renowned psychologist, criminologist. And she established, the crime scene house there to teach students. But, something you and I were talking about is that there's a stark difference between criminology, study of the mind, and then this. This was like an undergraduate class about processing a crime scene. So I wanted you to just touch on that.
Yeah, and even his graduate work, was directed toward, and I think his graduate work was also done at DeSales in their master's program. It was directed toward criminal behavior, which is, for folks that don't know, because there's been a lot of confusion about this, and just from an academic standpoint, just let me set the record straight. So if you're talking about pure criminology, the study of criminology, you have an interest in crime scenes, but only as it goes to the behavior or the repeated behavior or the predictable behavior of individuals that are engaging in crimes. You're not looking at the science of this like we do in forensics. So you're working on more of a behaviorist model as opposed to what we practice in, which is actually a medical scientific model, okay, in forensics. Do testing and all these and evaluations of bodies and all these sorts of things. The two things are not the same, okay? And he was even going to Washington State to get a PhD in criminology, which again is a doctoral level study of criminal behavior. And if he had been there long enough, you would have seen him to begin to develop questionnaires under the direction of a faculty advisor or supervisor. Those areas that he's interested in, maybe he did have an interest in how criminals behave in the wake of of committing a crime. I think that there was one questionnaire that kind of went out on one of these platforms where he's asking, it's kind of very rudimentary and primitive, the way it's written. It's not a purely academic kind of approach like you would see if you had a.
Let me say this. If this is what happened, Demon says, I still want to know if BK's innocent. Why frame him or make him the patsy or whatever it is? Not saying he's guilty, just why him? Then it turns out that, see, I don't know. I've asked myself this a million times, you guys, trying to understand why, if that is what happened. I can't give a square answer, in my opinion, as to why. Okay, because it could be a multitude of different things. Wrong place, wrong time. Which is a big one. It could have been that Brian was looking into something and found something he shouldn't have. Said something to the wrong person. In turn, there you go. There's our patsy. It could have been accidental. It could have been that maybe Brian did have a knife and it was stolen from him. Okay. It could have been purely coincidental and accidental. Or it could have been a 100% complete total, what you're saying, frame situation. And it was just the luck of the draw with this guy per se. I'm saying that sounds weak, guys, but I'm just saying it could have been many different reasons or possibilities as to how. I can't pinpoint that. I can't figure that part out. But I sure as hell can figure the rest of it out. Welcome, Elliot. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, the whole family are involved within the most of them, at least in the psychology region. Yes, both his sisters and I believe his mom was a teacher, so there's that too. He's so smart and was able to plan this out to commit the perfect crime. Yet he's so stupid that he left the sheath behind, got caught on cameras, turned his phone and thank you very much. Over and under and over. I'm sorry. Yes, that's my point right there. The whole point that I was trying to make.
If you had a faculty advisor helping you with this,
or the other side of this that a lot of people aren't looking at too, is that it was found out who it was and that person was being protected. And if that was the case, which is possible, guys, we've seen that happen in other crimes. How they got to him is what my biggest question is. At that point, how did you get to this one guy to protect these other people? Possibly. Is it coincidental? Is it because the car matches another car? And it just so happened that this person looked better on paper? I know this sounds ridiculous, but there's more than one of these cars. And I'm telling you guys, I've said this before. There is a car that was driving around that area that night that had 2 to 3 other people in it, in my opinion, or 3 or 4. And that's the car that should have been being looked at. And because it matched up to his car, there's your case, okay? Because it sure as hell looks to me that they built the case around the car. They arrested him and built the case after the fact, folks. And I'm telling you right now, from what I've seen, I truly believe that that's what they did, is they arrested this guy and they built the case around that and behind that. I don't know about that, Leslie, but that's interesting. That is interesting. But no, they truly, in my opinion, arrested this guy, and then they built a criminal case around him and everything around that situation. Because I truly, at this point, feel just like Ann said that sheath was placed, that's the wrong car, which we know. That man was not there, and nothing he owns has any of the victim's DNA on it. That's a lot, folks. That's a whole lot.
This thing. So he did apparently, if we are to believe what we're seeing, he did apparently have an interest in criminal behavior, but that does not equate to forensic science. We do cross paths with these people, but it's not the same practice. Okay. It's like if you,
Sorry, you guys. It's 11:22 every damn night. A grand jury member asked for a picture of the car, and all they had was a stock photo. That's interesting, too. Quite. quite interesting too. Anyway, sorry about that, you guys. Hold on.
What's on the soles of their feet, what's on their hands, what's falling out of their head, because you think about hair, and we shed hair, we shed skin. So with the said, and comparing that to this exercise, there's an awareness. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest takeaways in this whole process when you begin to look at Brian Koberger and his relationship to his academic training, as well as what happened in Moscow.
And you talked about, shedding hair, skin cells, things like that. To our knowledge, and this is all we know, his defense attorney, Ian Taylor.
Module test, every.
Sorry, it got backed up again. I'll get it back to the point. Sorry.
I don't know, every so often, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, you'd have a test that would encompass the very first part of this document, and then the two mid sections, and then the final section. And then it's cumulative over that period of time. So you would have learned this. And this is a semester ending document that they would have had to have produced. And the grad assistant or the professor would go through, and they would grade it, and they would look for it point by point. And that's essentially what they're doing. And it is like a recipe. This is not graduate level work, okay, where you're, contemplating perhaps doing research on alternative theories to crime scene processing. This is a very basic kind of procedure. And yes, it's voluminous, but everything we do in forensics is voluminous.
Good point.
He went into sales. He studied under Dr. Catherine Ramsland.
At the science of this, like we do in forensics. So you're working on more of a behavior.
You have a great night, C-Tiris. I'd love to see you back. We do have a morning show in the mornings, and then in the afternoon we do this again. I've been doing a lot of these talks, building up to these hearings and things like that, just discussing different pieces and parts of the case. So it would be wonderful to see you again at any of those times. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us. Get some good sleep, and we will see you again soon. Good night. That's another one, too. He's got multiple issues, guys. Dyspraxia is a real thing he was diagnosed with as a child. I do believe he's on the spectrum to an extent, okay, because of these other things. OCD, ODD, ADHD. There's many things that put him in that grouping, possibly. Just saying. The dyspraxia is a big one because that messes with your motor skills, your fine motor skills, and the things that would make you move quickly to be able to go do something like this and repeatedly move your arms like the way that they did, that this person did. Another big problem.
Model, as opposed to what we practice in, which is actually a medical scientific model, okay, in forensics. Do testing and all these and evaluations of bodies and all these sorts of things. The two things are not the same, okay? And he was even going to Washington State to get a PhD in criminology, which again is a doctoral level study of criminal behavior. And if he had been there long enough, you would have seen him to begin to develop questionnaires under the direction of a faculty advisor or supervisor. Those areas that he's interested in, maybe he did have an interest in how criminals behave in the wake of committing a crime. I think that there was one questionnaire that kind of went out on one of these platforms where he's asking, it's kind of.
And that questionnaire was an assignment given to him from his teacher from the class. So that's why it went out.
Very rudimentary and primitive, the way it's written. It's not a purely academic kind of approach like you would see if you had a faculty advisor helping you with this thing. So he did apparently, if we are to believe what we're seeing, he did apparently have an interest in criminal behavior, but that does not equate to forensic science. We do cross paths with these people, but it's not the same practice. Okay. It's like if the FBI is going to work a serial crime, okay, they're going to call in the BSU, which is the Behavioral Sciences Unit, famously out of Quantico. You think about Mindhunter, the series that was on Netflix. They're looking at information gleaned from crime scenes, but they're trying to put together a bigger picture. That's more criminology. You're not going to call one of the BSU people to come out and process the crime scene like you would if you had.
Great point. Angel Bonds, wonderful to have you here. The roommate's acting like she won't wake up. Was drunk last night. Okay, if it was one, if it was one person in one locked room, they have 4 people, 2 per room, not waking up. Why Ellie wasn't more concerned, I don't know. Great question. Great point. Thank you.
Had arguably one of the best crime scene processing units in the nation that indwells the FBI. Those 2 jobs are completely different.
Yeah, totally. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you offering your expertise and your thoughts about the
It was a great show. Very is. I watch it on and off still.
paper. It'll be interesting to see if this actually goes in front of a jury, if the judge allows it, and what happens. Thank you so much, Joseph Scott Morgan.
All right. So, like I said, guys, I had a different take on that whole thing than what they did. I'm just saying, yo, I don't see it that way. I just don't. Where are we at? 2:15, probably about done for the night because it's a late one. You guys have had a lot of good points to make too. Hold on here. Give me a moment here. Trying to see what else I had to present tonight if we did. Hang on. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, guys. I've been watching. I'm sure we all know who Harsh is. Harsh Reality. I've been watching some of his stuff lately. Okay, he's been making some sense. I've always watched him here and there. I've always been subscribed to him, and I've always supported him throughout a lot of different things. So I dropped his link in here. Go check out some of the stuff he's been talking about too. It does make some sense. There's one thing that he stated in here. I'm gonna show you guys something here. Hold on. Now we watched Pete the other night. Okay. You know who I'm talking about. The lawyer, you ladies know who I'm talking about. He made some big points here. Harsh went in, did the same thing, said the same thing. There's experts, attorneys, legal experts that are stating that this could be a dismissal, you guys. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen because this needs to go to trial. 100% needs to go to trial, in my opinion. But there's a lot of people that are saying that this could, based on just alone what Cy Ray threw out. Okay. Go check out some of what Harsh has been talking about too. It's the same stuff. It makes sense. You can let him know I told you to come there too. I'm telling you guys, some of what he said makes sense. Not everybody cares for him. I get that. But there's a lot of good theories and opinions that are coming from creators that do make sense. There's a lot that don't. And I'm saying from both sides of the fence, guys. I don't know. I don't know. At this point, guys, I'm really leaning on Brian couldn't have done this. Truly. Let me see something here. Give me a second here. I wish I could figure out an exact. I wish I could come up with an answer, a good motive to make it make sense. Why him? Truly. Hang on a minute here. Is anybody familiar with who Tony Bruschi is? Guys, I want to review this with you guys tonight. I've been following this guy for a while now. And a lot of stuff that he says too. I couldn't find the link for it, but like I said, there's other creators out there that are saying some of the same stuff. This is interesting to me. Okay. Here, I'll give you a link to him, guys. Again, there's a lot of people that are saying that Brian's guilty, and some of the stuff that they're saying in the background is different than is opposite. So I'm gonna go through this and scan through this with you guys towards the end here. Agreed, housewife. Agreed. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. All right, let's listen to this a little bit here.
We're going to be looking into one of the most overlooked and emotionally complicated layers of the Brian Kohberger case, his family. And this is not a piece to expose his family or tout blame on his family. I don't think they have anything to do with this whatsoever. I think they are very much victims in this as well. The people who just days before the world knew his name, they were sharing holiday meals with him. The same people who may now be walking into a courtroom, not just to sit behind him in support, but to testify against him. Not out of malice, but because they might have seen and heard things no one else did. Now imagine being a parent or sibling in that position. 1 minute you're watching Wheel of Fortune with your kid, the next you're on a subpoena list. That's not exactly the Christmas vibe anyone's going for. Joining us is someone who knows exactly what it means to analyze behavior when emotions are running high. Retired FBI special agent and chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke. Robin, when you hear that prosecutors may be calling Kohberger's own father or sister to...
Do you guys remember way back when Cy was in Latah, and the thing was that his information would put KB somewhere, maybe even in 1122. I don't. Hold on here. To do this for this FNF crime, this one here. I'm a little lost, Melissa, on what you're saying. Who's KB, by the way? I don't know. I'll catch up.
Testify. What immediately jumps out to you as a behavioral expert? And how does a situation like this, where familial loyalty crashes into legal obligation, tend to play out inside a house room, or more or less a courtroom?
Sensitive, soft touch, which is always going to be key and critical, because here's a father and siblings and family members that, it's hard to get over. This is your son, this is your brother, this is your baby boy. I mean, I always use that term thinking of my own kids.
I thought this was interesting too, because whether or not who believes Brian did this or didn't do this, this is part of the case too. Something to think about as well. Just as much as with the victims and the victims' families, this is important too. Just to end this for tonight, it's a little bit of off the subject we're talking about, but we'll probably be back tomorrow evening too, a little longer about this. But
yeah,
I think
there's some other stuff that I want to talk about that I didn't get to tonight.
The best way, so here, if I was doing this, and I think what they're going to do here as well, is they're not going to ask an opinion of him. They're not going to go down that road of subjective observation. I think they're going to most likely stick with observations of life arcs, behaviors. You know, tell me about what it was like with Brian growing up. What kind of things was he into? What was Brian's daily routine for this period of time, through this period of time, during this period of time? Did you see a deviation in that period of time when he came home on vacations? You know, when he first was a freshman in college, what was his routine like when he would come home for a holiday? So they're going to establish a baseline, at least what I would think of his life arc for visits, for college, for school, for the way he lived life. And then they're going to then focus in on a period of time during the murders.
Sounds
What
good,
was the
Outcast.
behavior like then? What did you observe? What did he do? What they're most likely going to do is they're going to try to highlight a spike in behavior in that period of time and not ask their conjecture on what they thought happened, because again, that would be too traumatic. I think.
Thank you so much for a super sticker, Leslie and Billy. God bless. Appreciate that very much. And thank you to anybody that chooses or has chosen to support the channel via donations, whether it's super chat, super stickers, the Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. We never ever expect you guys to do that, but thank God for you guys, because it is definitely appreciated and it helps to keep this channel running. So thank you all so very much.
I think they're going to then lay out their own thing for the jury to make their own decision. So I would use family members for establishing baselines of behavior and then highlighting deviations from those baselines is what I would do to try to take the emotional part out. And also because they don't want to be seen as villains in this either by anyone who's sympathetic to a son or a daughter, because that's exactly what defense is going to do, is try to paint him as a victim of the prosecution, a victim of society and all these things.
Yeah.
And I don't believe they are either, Linda. I don't think that any they said that they may be able to do it. I don't see it happening. I think that was something that was put out. I'll be honest with you. Something that was put out to keep the propaganda going in one direction, to follow the narrative, to get the public to believe, well, he really did it. If his family, it was planted in a way that people are, you saw how it came out. Everybody and their mother said, "Oh no, Brian's sister's is gonna testify." Immediately, you guys. That's not at all what was stated. But immediately, everybody said, his family's gonna testify against him. No, they're not. No, they're not. That I can almost guarantee you they don't. That once again was to try to make people believe that this man was so guilty that his own family was going to testify against him. More propaganda. That's all I'm saying. When time comes, you watch and see what happens. That's all I'm saying, you guys. I agree with you, Linda.
The fact that we have some history that we know about, one of the sisters, likely back, before all this went down, he stole her cell phone. And this was apparently back when he was into heroin, needing money for drugs, allegedly. That's how the story goes. And his family turned him in. and I found that to be really interesting. That doesn't.
There very possibly could be, Mark and Betty. There very possibly could be. I've seen it in many different angles where I could see that being possible, sir. So don't think that it couldn't be, guys, at this point. I know I pushed that off because I wasn't looking at it at that point. I was looking at other things, but at this point now, I have a lot of questions about that still. I'll just say that.
Doesn't seem like it would be the first strike. If you stole your sister's phone, let's turn you into the police. I would think, initially a lot of families would be like, whoa, we can't be doing this. I'm going to guess that was probably not the first strike that something like this occurred, where you're going to go that far with your own son and a sister, having a scuffle of, I stole your phone.
And if anything, that's a good point, Mojo. There could be testimony brought in about the fact that they have a family Amazon account. What if it comes out, you guys, that one of his sisters bought the knife for their own personal protection? Or if Michael Koberger, Brian's father, bought the knife because he wanted one? What if that comes out? Is that so far-fetched to believe? And then, oh my God, wait, what does that mean? Does that draw away from Brian? Of course not. Not with the guilters, because everybody's going to go, well, he just stole it from them, and then that was that. That's the whole point right there I'm trying to make. That's how far people will go with this. Okay, I do too, Angel. I feel bad for his family. It's insane. That's why we're watching this.
Granted, they were, adults or nearly adults at the time. What are your thoughts?
So, no, I read Howard Bloom's book on the Koberger case, on Koberger, the family, from the great interviews he did. And when they turned him in, the sense I get, and again, when you look at the amount of involvement, when you see a dad driving with his son cross country for Christmas break or Thanksgiving break when he's driving back with him, my sense I get is that these things, and even turn them in for the drugs back then, it wasn't an act of malice or an act of resentment.
And that is something I want everybody to understand, that I've gathered from this as well. When they did what they did with Brian about over the phone, when they turned him in for this, that, they were trying to help him get off of drugs. Period. It was to teach a lesson, in short, to try to get the man to be able to, get off the drugs and be straight. It was family, what do you call that? Tough love. Hey, Mittens, good to see you. That's how I took that. That's how I see it. That's what I truly believe it is. When it came down to that whole phone bullshit, okay? Just understand that.
Towards Brian, it was an act of love and compassion to try to save him.
Yeah.
Here, let's help him to his bottom faster so he can actually have an aha moment, hopefully, and start his own recovery. And so I think that's what this family that has reps in is going above and beyond at wit's end of trying to figure out ways to help their son. And so I think that was an act of compassion. And so I think turning him in for
in a sense,
drug addiction or drug use is going to be a lot different than saying, yes, I agree he committed this murder.
Sure.
Because it's a whole different, I think it's a different mindset that was at play there.
The fact that over the holiday break, when he went back to Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving and Christmas break, and everybody is looking for this white Elantra at the time. The public did not know the name Brian Koberger. People are just, what's going on here? His sister at home allegedly then was vocal enough to say, he has a white Elantra. However, she described his behavior, or the family kind of knows his behavior as being kind of out there, kind of off, and saying, could it be him? That they actually go and look in his car. Again, that's kind of a strong one. I mean, it's one thing to be joking, hey, you got a white Elantra, are they coming after you, bro? I mean, it wasn't like that. It was like, let's go look at his car, thinking, oh God, maybe he might be it. Like, that's a pretty swift conclusion to come.
I don't believe so, because Michael drove all the way across country with him. That didn't seem to be an issue when they were stopped in Indiana. I don't believe that they thought that he did anything. I just don't. I don't.
And think you might actually be right. I mean, it's coming in with some force. Again, another one of those moments where this family seemed to have, just that dark feeling that, oh God, like he may have the potential to have done this. That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they've been victims, especially the sister, of his lifetime of behavior.
Welcome, Outcast. Thanks for joining me, bro.
Yeah, what's up?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Not bad. By the way, thank you for the audio tracks you put together on that call. You did a great job on that. Much appreciated.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, what this guy is saying right here, is this true or false about the sister searching the car and
I have no idea. There was rumors flying all over the place that the sister went and looked in the car and did this and did that. And I think he's making assumptions.
Yeah, that's what I believe here too, that this is just not true at the point, like that there's really proof that this even happened.
Exactly.
So,
and that's how much of this have you seen since you've been following his case?
I've been following a good 6 to 8 months, so I'm pretty caught up, with all the conspiracies and what's going on. So,
and every just about every channel that has put anything out has carried nothing but negative propaganda towards him. Okay.
Oh yeah, but they're just following a narrative that they're being fed also too. So you know, if you go to the guilters, you're gonna find the same narrative, And then if you go to people that think BK didn't do it, you might find different narratives, like the conspiracies. But if
And there's
you're a guilter, you're definitely on the same talking points,
Sure. Yeah. And that's the thing I'm trying to prove here. At some point, we may not get through this whole video because it's a little longer than I thought, but they go into talking about the shit that Brian's family has to deal with on top of this. You know what I'm saying? Which is true. They're victims too, in a sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, it's just proof positive. The rumor mill that went nuts with this based on the negative propaganda that was put out against this. And I was on the fence for this for a long time. Have a good night, Charlotte. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be shutting down here in a short few minutes. But anyway, at some point, I was leaning a little towards the guilt side. And after this past month alone, my friend, everything that we've seen has got me completely going in another direction to where I'm almost standing so close to the innocent side now that I can't help myself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd be like, it's just if you're just getting involved in the case and just say you watch the documentary, you're going to think BK's guilty.
Of course.
You just watch the main narrative, until you dig deeper, then you're like, you find out the girls waited 8 hours to call the police, and then you just start, getting more hints and pieces, and you're like, oh, maybe, I don't know. And then you're thinking, this guy just killed 4 people. He's got DNA on or touch DNA on a sheath. There's no DNA anywhere else. It's just if you have common sense and you have a brain and you think outside the box, you're gonna kind of lean towards maybe he didn't do it, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but like you said, I've listened to that 911 call a lot, and I tried to, make out stuff that people are saying. I just find it weird that these girls are very crying, like they just seen a dead body on the phone, like as soon as they call 911. But as more we're getting into the 911 call, they don't even know what's going on. So it's like, what triggered this 911 call, and why did we wait 8 hours for it to happen?
I agree. And as you stated, as I stated in the beginning of the call goes out. We were all told this from day one. And I've been on this case from the first day they showed it on the news. And I picked up the next day and started covering it. So we were told right out of the gate, the call was made for a person that's passed out. Okay, that's great.
Right.
As we get into the first 4 words of the call, there's somebody bawling on the phone saying something happened in my house and we don't know what it was. That's not somebody passed out.
The thing with me is, how do you know somebody is passed out?
I said. That's what I said.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, we get it. You think your friend's unconscious. But if the door is shut and you have not entered the bedroom, where did you get that she was unconscious in the first place?
Thank you.
It could have been like, hey, I'm scared. My friend's not answering her door. She's not answering her phone calls. I'm calling her name. But how do you know she's unconscious? You know what I mean? So it's very sketchy, if that's the word for it.
Exactly. And it's obvious, like you said, as you listen to it closer and more often, because I've heard it now in your version of it many, many times now.
Right.
You hear they don't seem to know really, truly what's going on until Hunter goes back into that room, gets in there. As you hear, at some point, it sounds to me like they were going to go through a window and they were told not to, so they didn't. And they go back inside, try to go through this door, and then they seem to know when he says, get out, get out, get out. So how did you know somebody was passed out earlier on in that call?
It's just what triggers the 911 phone call if nobody has seen these people unconscious at all. You know what I mean? And you're so hysterical about it. It just blows my mind. And then 10 seconds, it's like she's changing, it's like she's hysterical and now she's fine. Not fine. I wouldn't say fine, but her tone changes a lot.
They were morphing in and out of,
Right. And I guess I don't know, we were never in that position. I was never in a position where 4 of my friends were laying dead in the house. And
agreed.
You know what I mean? So I can't put myself in their shoes. I could just be like, hey, this is how I look at it,
Now, I will give you this much. As a first responder, I've responded to nothing quite as dramatic as this and as horrible as this, but close. Okay. And the reactions of people, I've responded to people that were passed out due to being drunk or overdosed, and they were not reacting this way. Now, I've also responded to a double homicide, and the reaction was completely beyond this. Screaming and crying and yelling and okay. So I've seen both sides of that fence, but at the same time, this does not match up with anything I've ever seen, truly. as far as a physical reaction. Now, I can't say that that tells me everything.
Right.
Everybody reacts differently, but there's definitely something strange, and definitely there's definitely red flags and questions within this whole thing.
And I've really tried to like extract this audio as much as I can, and maybe people hear different things than I do, which is fine. And I don't always put out a video and say I'm right, you're wrong. But I do hear whispers in the background. I feel like these girls are communicating with each other, Bethany and Dylan, more than anyone else, and they're whispering stuff. And maybe I'm wrong about it, but I tried to listen to the audio. But if you hear the first 911 audio, it feels like it's altered. You know, understand what I'm saying?
It does. I heard more. I know Jeff went in and cleaned it up and did what he was doing, and I don't believe he was doing anything to try to change it for a negative reason. I think he was just trying to clean it up. I give him, because he does good with that stuff. But when I went back in and I listened to the first one I played came from Channel 4. Didn't sound anything like that. So that was weird. Then I listened to his version of it. I heard a different side of it. And then I listened to yours, and I heard another 3 different versions I've heard of this call now. The one that I hear from you is things in the beginning that I did not hear. There's whispers. There's other words being said by other people. There's more yelling. There's different things. So what's the deal with this? You know what I mean?
So like when Jeff H takes the audio, in my opinion, I don't know what he's doing. He's just trying to enhance the audio. It's clear and make you sound it. When I'm taking the audio, I'm trying to split it into 4. So it's like if you take a regular music song and you want the drums or the bass or the vocals or the treble, so I could take that and in the audio. So what I'm trying to do is separate it into 4s to where you're catching 4 different audios. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
I do.
I feel like when I'm listening to the phone call, the original audio, and you hear static, like, you didn't hear him say, I want to take the screen off, but it feels like it's hidden to me. Well, like you hear this, to me, it's hidden. So I'm trying to remove that. And then we could see that it's like over layered, you know what I'm saying? So I'm it's like peeling an orange, you're just trying to peel it back. And that's what I found. And I feel like
that's the funny thing, dude. Why didn't we hear that in the one that was released to the news station?
Because it was altered for you not to hear it.
Thank you.
My
from the beginning,
opinion,
and you don't
2.5 years to release that, and I do feel that there was extra audio put on top of the 911 call to cover the sounds in the background. I believe that truly.
Yep. And here's the biggest question with all of this right here and now. Why?
It's to hide what's going on in the background. I mean, there's no other answer to it. Is you're trying to, you release it to the public, and you don't expect the public to dig deep into that audio. You just hope they take it as is, So
just like they did with this whole case, dude. The whole case was presented to us in hopes that nobody was going to question it, nobody was going to look into it, nobody was going to think twice. It's just cut and dry. Here's what happened. We arrest the guy that does it. He goes, he gets the death penalty. His life is ended. The case is over. We move on. That's not how this community
That's what
works.
I said. If you go watch the documentary, I think it's on HBO Max. If you watch it, you're going to think BK's guilty. There's no other side to it. That's just the way it's built for you.
And that's 100% what they've done. And we all, I'm going to say in December when Brian was arrested, I think everybody kind of went, oh, thank God. And we were okay for about 2 or 3 weeks until they started releasing documents, and everybody went, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a second now. What is this and that? How did this go about? How did that don't make sense? And slowly but surely, and of course, all of us were called crazy and conspiracy theorists and this and that.
I mean that's normal. I mean, what I mean. So when people start looking beyond the fucking, the scope of it, then you're crazy and you're, you don't know what you're talking about. But that's normal. You know what I mean?
It is, and I'm grateful for the past month when things have finally started to come to the surface and said, okay, no, we're not crazy. Here's what we've been telling you for 2 years. Here's another thing that we said. Here's that now too. And now we have this 911 call that doesn't make any sense. And for whatever reason, seems to be in that they altered it. Why would you do that unless you're hiding something?
Right. If you're trying to stick to a narrative that you already set for the public to believe, hey, BK is guilty, and that's that. And like I said, if we do find a video, like you said, of 1112 or whatever, King Road has him walking in and we see it's him, okay, he's guilty. I don't care if he's guilty. You don't understand what I'm saying? If he did it, go to jail, go to hell, whatever. You know what I mean? You killed 4 innocent people. Go. I'm not a. You know what I mean? I'm not pro.
That's me. I'm pro justice and pro truth. That's what this channel is based on. It's pro justice.
I wanted to ask you a question because I read up online that one of the officers that showed up to the crime scene was under investigation of internal affairs. Is that true or not?
Multiple officers were.
So they were under internal affairs already before this case.
There were. Let me think here. Somebody that knows this is probably going to help me in the chat, but there was more than one officer that had Brady Giglio violations. Okay. Right. And again, yes. And then we also had a Idaho State police officer that was involved in a framing job of a doctor, Officer Tolleson from the State Patrol. So yeah, you explained to me, sir. You know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you got an open mind, it just all looks corrupt at the end of the day, to where, if BK went in his house and killed 4 people, he should have shed some skin. If any of these people fought against him, he had no scratches. I mean, if you stab people over hundreds of times, I'm not too sure on the number of how many times these people were stabbed. He's going to cut himself in some shape or form. And when you cut yourself, that does not heal in 2 days. It might take months, and you're going to scar or scab up. You understand what I'm saying? So
exactly.
I feel he would have showed it, And even if these guys know, like, you cleaned your car with this, and this.
Yes, it would be shown. Bleach would show up in the vehicle. Cleaners would show up in the vehicle. None of that happened.
And then people say BK's cleaning his car. Well, if you look when he's getting pulled over, his car is dirty as shit. Like, if you really look at BK's car when he gets pulled over on his way to Pennsylvania, his car is dirty. Like,
it's very dirty. Yeah,
you know what I mean. So yeah, if he was so worried, that car would have been crystal clean every day. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah, and the inside of it looked a little cluttered up.
It didn't look like he was. I don't know. Like I said, he could be guilty. I'm not 100% sure to write him off. I just look at the evidence that we have and go with it.
Or don't have. Yes.
Or don't have.
That's right. Correct. I agree. And Debbie said they're able to hold him for a reason. Well, they have to hold him at this point now until we get to a certain point, Debbie, regardless. They have the evidence that will find him without a doubt that he's guilty. I don't think they do. I mean,
the reason he's held is because of the DNA on the sheath.
Right. That's
so there's no other, like, they got DNA of a sheath. If it's touched DNA, if you guys want to say it was planted, that's okay. But that's the reason why he's held.
It is. It's probably the weakest form of any evidence you could have at this point in a case like this. Okay.
Yep.
That's the problem, is that it's this whole case is built on less than circumstantial evidence, in my opinion. And it's a big problem because it's not anywhere near enough to convict this guy on a death penalty case and put him and deal with it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's just not enough.
I agree with you. I think that personally, that even if he did do it, he might have like a mistrial, or he might get off because of the lack of evidence.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I was always worried about before, is that if he did do this, there's not, in my opinion, enough evidence to convict him and he could get off on it. But now, with what we're seeing now, there's been so many lies put out. There's been there's so much stuff that points the other direction now. And I'm going, if you had this man in the car coming to the house, getting in and out, going in and out, we just saw that a long time ago. Okay.
Oh, I agree.
There's just no way. So be it. If they come with that, like you just said, and I said earlier, fine, let's do this. It doesn't matter to me if Brian did it or not. What matters to me is if it's the right person, and if these victims do get the real justice.
Because it's not a good thing if someone's innocent and could just go to jail or go get the death penalty because they've been framed or set up. That's not good for the country or state or whatever, however you want to look at it. That's not good. We need to prove he is guilty without a doubt, that he committed these crimes, he planned these crimes, and and you said earlier, like, he planned this so good, like, why would he leave that behind? But a lot of us do plan things, and our plan sometimes messes up. You know what I'm saying? So it does happen.
You are right.
and it could happen. He could have messed up, but like in their story, he left the sheath and showed back up at 9 a.m, and we make us believe that he forgot the sheath and he went back to go recover it. So that's like their story they're trying to make us believe, which I don't know. But now this Cy Ray's like, man, he wasn't even, if I'm taking it correctly, he wasn't even by the crime scene. So
he wasn't at all, and they proved that already once, and he'll do it again. And with everything else that Cy's put out via his affidavit, guys, I can't. I have to look the other direction at this point. I just do.
Even if you think he did it, you got to have some kind of common sense to be like, hey, man, if you don't put him at the scene, he wasn't there, and but his defense was saying he was framed, and or was trying. I'm not too sure if they were going that direction.
Yeah, they're going that direction, I think. Yeah.
So I feel like this sheath, maybe they are going to come out during trial that it was stolen, or he sold it, or something of that sort of nature. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, and that would make some sense, because right now it just doesn't. And
it doesn't.
I've looked at it in every way possible to try to find him guilty in my mind. And I found where I could almost get to that point. And every time I get there, something new drops. And it's like, nope, here we are again, backing up again. So
I don't understand how they held this information in for so long with the gag orders, and like, I don't know. It's more like the state's scared of all the evidence to come out in my eyes. Like,
I mean, or to point to the fact that it really wasn't him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, their case would crumble with all this information coming out, which it kind of is.
That's exactly it. And then what happens is if they do prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he didn't do this, we have four young adults that were murdered and nobody in custody for doing it. That's a problem, folks.
That's a big problem. That's a really big problem for the colleges too, because I feel like the colleges, that's all about money at the end of the day. And you guys got to understand it. When it comes to colleges, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars from students coming there, and they needed this case closed ASAP, or people were not sending their child there, and maybe he's the patsy. Like, we got this, lock him up. Case closed. See, guys, we did it.
Point. Yes.
You know what I mean?
And again, I said that before too, because this town, the town itself, relies on the college to survive. It's
absolutely.
So they're all going to work in unison to make this happen now. Okay,
absolutely.
There was a rush on this. There was a push for this to be done. Everybody wanted this to be settled, and they arrested him, and everybody started breathing again. Came back to the school. Everybody's happy. So now this has to happen. Now they have to make this happen now to close this out, because God forbid they show that he's not the guy. The whole world's going to implode.
It's going to be really bad if he's found not guilty for that state, that college, who's ever involved, whatever. The higher ups over there, they're all done. Like,
oh, definitely.
Especially if corruption comes out. If there's corruption behind the scenes, it's going to be bad.
I think it'll shut the town down. Yeah, I think Moscow will be shut down.
For sure. In my opinion, yes. I was just watching the the Lakeview murders, the ones on Long Island, and that took like 13 years to get the guy arrested.
Yes.
And this one was done in like 35 days, like
I know.
So it just shows you,
It was a little quick, considering the information they did have and the information they didn't have. Like I said, I feel like they arrested him and built the case around that. That's my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that so too. Like I said, I'm not saying he's innocent, but when I look at the case and I look at all the evidence and go down the conspiracy roads, it doesn't look too much that he may have did it. Without that sheath, what do they have?
They didn't have anything else, because anything else they did have was thrown out. So
right. Plus, he's an outsider. He's not from there, so you don't know if these other kids with this other DNA or blood, or they had a couple of DNA samples.
That's a big thing, and I'm waiting on that to happen, because that was stated clearly in a document, and it says Mr. Koberger will be providing what the hell did they alternate suspects that are actually closer to the victims than what he ever, because there is no connection with him and them, but these alternate suspects, many alternate suspects that have a closeness to the victims. Well, that's big to me.
So how I look at that is he was using drugs. This is just my speculation, and nothing I say is true. Maybe he was buying drugs. and he sold that knife to one of the drug dealers. People, I've seen that they thought the kids were selling drugs, and maybe that's how the sheath got in someone else's hand, and unfortunately he still had DNA for it.
There you go.
I mean, it's very possible.
Very easy to do. Very easy to do. And I thought a long time ago that he may have fallen off the wagon because he was going back to college, needed some pick-me-ups or something like that, and started picking up some stuff on campus here or there in that area. Mind you, would explain him going in that area often.
For sure.
Because, there is no stalking. We know that now. So that truly would make a lot of sense. I don't have much money, but here, you can have this for this. Absolutely. Some people,
I mean, when you're a drug addict, $10 worth of stuff, $20, whatever you could get, And I don't know if he's a drug addict, but when I've been around them type of people, $10, sell the sheath, it's a $40 knife, they'll take it for $10 just to get high. It happens all the time. So
yes, it does. I do agree, sir. I do. I appreciate you joining me up here. You have to do it again.
For sure. Yeah. I'll hop on. I know it was getting late, and I was like, maybe I'll hop on. But then I heard this guy talking in an interview. I'm like, no, this guy's talking out of his ass.
Right.
Sister, and there's no confirmation that his sister said that about him. And I don't like people that do that. I mean, you could do speculation, but don't say it's concrete evidence that his sister came out and said that about him, because I haven't found it anywhere.
I was kind of showing this whole thing like this is what's going on a regular basis, every which way you look.
And then the guy's laughing that his family called the cops on him because he stole the phone. I'm like, so they're gonna testify that their brother or son murdered 4 people. Dude, get real.
Exactly.
It's
not gonna happen, you guys. I'm telling you, that's how they presented this to the whole world, stating that. And as you saw which direction it went, as soon as they put it out there that his family could testify,
everybody can't they just plead the fifth?
Yeah, they could. They could actually. Yeah,
that's probably
it's not going to happen though, folks. They're not going to testify against him. I promise you. I feel super comfortable with that. Okay.
I don't believe either that they're going to. But
no, not at all. But again, I appreciate you, dude. I would love to have you back up here again next time. I really would.
Yeah, I will for sure. It's good talking to you. I'll let you go now. I know you're about to get off, but yeah, for sure. We'll do this again.
Absolutely. Have a great night, sir.
You too, man.
All right, brother. Bye-bye. All right, Outcast. Great to have you up here. I appreciate your insight, your input, and your feelings on this. 100%. Guys, it's later than I thought it was. It's midnight now. Candy Girl. Hello. Let me see. Everybody else in here, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I didn't get to jump on some of the stuff I wanted to, but I got stuck on one of the spots that I was talking about. So that being said, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Probably back in here again tomorrow, not as late, to finish up some more of this things seen and heard then and now that I'd like to look back into. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. I will see you guys tomorrow for our morning show in the morning, and then back in, like I said, in the afternoon, more than likely. You guys have a great night. Get some good sleep. Have some great thoughts. And don't forget to love yourselves. Love each other. Don't change a thing. You guys are the beautiful people. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye, y'all.
Down the shadows, bringing wrongs to right, digging deep in the data, facts sharp as a knife. With every single story, he's fighting for a life. A voice for the voiceless, he won't stay quiet. Dago's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. Through the shadows he rises, the stream loud and clear. Cracking cases, open hearts filled with fear. His channel's a beacon in a world gone wrong. He guides us through the chaos, a soldier so strong. The clicks and the lights, they follow his lead. With every new case, he plants a new seed. Sharing their stories, giving hope where it fades. Dago's a warrior through the trials he waits. In a world of silence, he shouts out their names. Dago's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he clear. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows and lawless, he won't let us fall. Bringing the truth out, answering the call. For every soul forgotten, he's here to stand tall. Dago the genuine, will always give it his all. Dago's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night.